So let's think about business design, two separate words. Let's take them separately, right? Let's first tackle design. It's probably a word that you're less familiar with. And when I say design, you probably think of things like decorations or curtains or cool looking furniture or fancy cars or our mobile phone or a magazine. Maybe even think of something that's been in the pop culture lately, and that is design thinking. But do you really know what design is as a discipline? What design basically is, it's a work process. It's just a process, a certain toolkit and methods and mindsets to create something, to get something done. The distinguishing quality of design is that we say it's human-centered. Well, what do we mean by that? Well, let's break it down. I want you to think of three things when you think of design. I want you to think of functional value, I want you to think of emotional value, and then social value. Let's take functional value first. When we think about the functional value of anything, let's take our mobile phone for a minute, right? You all probably have a mobile phone on you, in front of you, somewhere nearby. We hardly ever leave them, right? Think about the functional value. So yes, you are able to make calls, you're able to take pictures, surf the web, do your banking, basically be connected to people and institutions that you want to interact with. That's sort of the functional value, but also think about this. How easy is it to charge? How does it hold a charge? The battery, how long does it last? How does it feel in your hand? All those are the functional value of something. To put it in a service context, say you're going to go buy a cup of coffee. Well, getting the cup of coffee is functional value. It's tangible. I want a cup of coffee, I'm going to get it. That's a functional value. Is it the right temperature? Was it made properly? What's the container like? Is it too hot to hold? Did I have to travel too far? Did I have to wait in a long line? Did they mess up my order? Was I able to order via an app? All that's a functional value, a functional sort of interaction with the service or product. And that's where a lot of people stop when they're designing new things. They think about, well, what sort of features and benefits does this need? How do we make this most usable? And how do we sort of extract as much value out of this as we can for the customer? And sometimes that works. And often it completely doesn't because the two other components are completely missing. And those are the human-centered components of emotional value and social value. So what is emotional value? Well, it's internal. It's how we feel when we're interacting with a product or a service. Does interacting with my mobile phone make me happy? Does it make me feel emotionally connected to my friends or family who are a long ways away that I can have a video call with or I can check in on the social apps? Does it make me feel comforted that I can check in when I'm away from home on my home security and look at the cameras? Does it make me feel nervous because I don't want to open my inbox and there's so many notifications pinging that mobile device that actually creates an anxiety in me? There's an emotional component to how we interact with products and services. So let's talk about the social value. The social value is external. How do we want to be perceived by other humans around us? Do we want to be perceived as smart, as know-it-alls, as completely confident? Do we want to be perceived as inquisitive, curious, like okay that we don't know all the answers? We probably never want to be made to feel like we're less than or that we're somehow not belonging to a certain group. Yet services and products can actually create those social perceptions on those people using it. In law, it's notorious that as a legal profession, we tend to alienate our clients. We make them feel like we have a certain command as lawyers over this language and these systems in our government that no one really understands except us. That can create a lot of negative feelings in the human side of our clients. So in the design world, we're always balancing the functional value with the emotional value and the social value. And when you nail it right, you design amazing products and services. Yes, let's trot out the old standbys of exemplary product and services. Apple, not just their phones, but the Apple Store. We can think about Airbnb and what an amazing experience and product and service. Is it a product? Is it a service? It's a service that the company doesn't actually deliver themselves. They're relying on complete strangers, the hosts. Yet somehow it works. It's because when they designed that, they weren't just thinking functionally people need a place to stay. There's lots of solutions out there for that. They were designing for also what the emotional experience and the social experience should be of the customer, the guest. And some would say that they nailed it. They got it right. Maybe not for all of us, but with a big enough market segment to make them immensely profitable and valuable as a company. Now that's a great segue into business. Let's leave design for a minute and let's go into business, because I just said something about the market segment. So when we think about business, you probably tend to think about performance metrics and revenue and investment and operations and cost and all those sort of business functions like HR and finance, so on and so forth. You wouldn't say it's the opposite of design. You would say it's more rigorous. It's numbers focused, right? Design is maybe more creative. It's more, shall we say, outside the box, and business is inside the box. I don't know, whatever analogy you want to use, they're generally viewed as two bookends, maybe a false binary choice. Well, I can either be rigor-based and analytical, or I can be this creative person unconstrained from the trappings of an ongoing business and status quo. So in business, we tend to add rigor. We tend to analyze markets, at least we should. We should size a market before we design a new service or product and say, well, if I do this right, how many people are actually out there willing to buy this? How do I justify that investment? I also should be thinking as an organization, do I have the resources? Can I organize them fast enough? Are they unique enough that I can actually deliver on this new product and service over time and successfully? And do my employees actually want to be involved in delivering this? So in business, we have three concepts called validity, feasibility, and desirability. Validity is really, are you solving a real problem? Lots of times we have our own biases and assumptions. In law, it's not too uncommon to hear lawyers or watch lawyers get really nervous about interacting with their clients, and so they tend to say, I know what the client wants, and they never really ask them. That's a big problem because we never validate the real problem, the real pain point. And then we don't size the market. We don't think about, okay, are there enough customers out here? How do they want to be interacted with? How do they actually want to buy this thing? Are they going to stick around for a long time, or is it going to be very transactional? In the feasibility realm, we should be looking at what resources we have. And by resources, I don't just mean technology. I mean talent. I mean governance systems, accountability, data, our workflows and processes. All of those things in our operations side of the house are all part of assessing feasibility. Can we organize all these things? Do we have access to them? Do we have to go buy new stuff to actually deliver on this product or service over time? And then the final is desirability. Desirability has some design qualities to it because we're basically asking there, do our employees, the ones who actually have to manufacture or deliver the service to the customer on a daily basis, both interact with the customer or client on the front end, but also on the back end, are we asking them to do work that they actually find desirable, at least tolerable? We certainly don't want to alienate them. We don't want to make it so frustrating that they barely want to show up or they hate their job, because that seeps away and it starts to carve away value of the delivery model over time. So that's in the business realm. Now, these two worlds, let's just call it creativity and business rigor, tend to exist in different pockets in our organizations, right? And there's biases and there's stereotypes over both types, analyticals and creatives. Here's the power of business design and why it's so potent and why I just love it. And I'm so excited to share it with you. Business design is the perfect bridge. It balances these two minds, these two capabilities in one person. You learn how to be creative if you're more analytical and business rigor based. If your creative business design pushes you to appreciate the analytical, the numerical, sort of the traditional business analysis things and skills and activities that we have to do to design profitable and successful businesses. So that's the world of business design. It's quite honestly beautiful. It matches up so well, and it's exactly what we need to do if we want to build new things for anyone, but certainly in legal. You can't do it overnight, but I promise you, as you start to step into this world, you're going to start to feel the power and potency of this. Thanks, and I'll see you soon.